Last week we predicted a red week, and a red week it became. Nasdaq down 2.7% and Dow Jones down even more at 2.92%. So what about this week? Will it be a green or will it be a red week? Well, Nasdaq is down 3 weeks in a row. Usually the fourth should be green. And to support this, every time Nasdaq and Dow Jones are falling this much in September, October should be good. But as you will hear in this week's podcast, StockInvest.us podcast for week 40, I will tell you that I'm not sure about this. I will give you the usual insights into the trading tips for the week. How did last week's trading tips go? Well, Chevron did good. What about Fast now? All this at the end of the podcast. First you have to listen to the disclaimer, and then I will be back with what I think will happen this week for the markets.
Hello everyone. Welcome to the StockInvest.us weekly stock and crypto podcast. The podcast is hosted by StockInvest.us co-founder and Golden Star Signal inventor, Jim Stromberg, who has been actively trading since 1996. If you are watching us on YouTube, make sure to hit like and notification bell so you will be first to know when we post a new video. This podcast is also available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Anchor, and other audio sources. Ensure you listen to the entire podcast so you don't miss out on some key tips needed for this week's strategy.
Welcome to StockInvest.us podcast. We remind you that trading involves a high risk of losing money, and that you should speak with a financial advisor before buying or selling any securities. You should not base your investment decision upon StockInvest.us. By using the information provided, you agree and are held liable for your own investment decisions.
Every Monday morning before going to the office, I pull up the green screen behind me. I put on some lights and I hook up the microphone, trying to give you this week's insights as I see them. And this was never intended to be commercialized. It was simply a guest to you, our users, helping you to reduce your losses and increase your gains. And very sorry that last week's podcast had bad sound quality. We are working to improve it. One way you can help us improve this is simply by liking the video and comment below and make sure that it grows. Because if it grows, it gives very good incentive to improve it even much more. So it's a little bit up to you. Like below and comment, that will for sure help a bit. And as you know, we seldom or never even promote our own webpage, StockInvest.us, in this podcast. Enough about this. In last week's podcast, you heard me say that I thought it would be a red week. And the question is always, what about the week ahead of us? And here comes the big thing. Because Nasdaq is down 3 weeks in a row. Statistically, usually, the fourth week should be green. And if you look at September, in September, S&P 500 fell more than 8%. Every time it's fallen this much in September, October is good. Has happened more or less every single time, except 2008 and the oil crisis. So, according to this, we are likely heading towards a green week. But as I will show you in the chart, we are balancing, and this I emphasized in last week's podcast, we are balancing on the support of 10,600. If broken, it can go very, very bad. And I always say that I don't like to be speaking about politics in the podcast, simply because politics usually is a bad thing. It divides people, and people have opinion, and so do I. But in this week's podcast, I have to be a little political, simply to give reasoning for why I think we might have a crash. So first off, let's start with the things that we always do. What are the fundamental things this week? There are really no big things. There are some manufacturing numbers coming today, and by the end of the week there will be some job numbers. So there is nothing drastic in this point. And if you look at other items like oil is going up $5 to $83 as we speak, and gold is even up $24 to 1,672. So nothing drastic in these pictures. Even the 10-year treasury yield, which I mentioned to you many times, keep an eye on it because it reflects the future, and as it goes up, the stock market should go down. Was up by 2.5% last week to 3.9. But there is nothing really scary in these figures. So why do I say that I think we might have a crash? Here comes the politics. We know Putin are struggling in Ukraine. We know that the stock market is balancing on the support at 10,600. Under this, it's a very little support until 8,000. So we are at a scenario where the slightest bad news can cause mayhem. And if you look at the buy and sell signals, I like to mention this in every podcast, they are still record low. I will get back to the actual numbers. So why do I think we can head into a crash? Well, we are balancing on this, and last week I told you I do not want to keep a 5% stop loss in the trading simply because it will be a volatile week up and down. And last week was volatile, and this week will be the same. It's so hard to say. It's a real gamble. Will it go up or will it go down? But back to Putin. Putin is struggling in Ukraine. He has annexed Donetsk and Luhansk, these regions, and that gives him a few bases. I think there is a fair chance, due to Putin's struggling military, due to the pressure from the West, due to the sabotage of Nord Stream 1 and 2, that Putin might use small nuclear tactical weapons in Ukraine. It might happen this week, could be next week. If these things happen, it will be mayhem on the stock exchange simply because there is no support below and the market will just simply collapse. The chance for this is extreme. It actually is so high that for this week you will not have any new trading tips for me. So if you are here for only the trading tips, you can save your time. You can just end the podcast right now, because I will not give you any trading tips by the end of the podcast. I will give you the updates for last week's trading tips. So that's how I view the situation. I think based on the technical picture, I will show you the chart, but based on this thing, that not any real good support below, the high risk, the high political tension which is currently building, there is a fair chance that something may spiral out of control next week. I'm not saying that there will be a nuclear war. I'm saying that there might be use of tactical minor nuclear weapons in Ukraine, and that will of course cause political mayhem. Even without this, there is so much fear in the market that anything bad can cause a huge market collapse. So we are at that brink where we can see a real crack. If it happens, it will be the buying opportunity of your life. I'm pretty sure about that, because it will be what we saw back in 2008, 2002, etc. Markets falling just endlessly, and if you were able to pick up some of them, you were so good off after some time. But let us get back to the signals. So what are the buy signals? The buy and sell signals we measure across all the stocks we analyze. We give them a buy, hold and sell, and based on this we can tell how many buy signals there is. And I mentioned this many times, when the buy signals are very low, is usually an opportunity because markets shift. Last week, all the signals that we analyzed was down at 14, and I told you that's a place where things get volatile and it can turn quickly. And the title of the podcast was something like crash or bounce, simply because we were at the stage where things could go very fast up or fast down, that scenario. And this week it's 12% buy signals. At the Nasdaq there is 8% buy signals. It's a little up from last week, which I consider good. We like to see that little upturn stabilize things more. But New York Stock Exchange is only 4%. London 9%, like last week. Tokyo fallen from 27 to 13% buy signals. And the Chesn in China is down at only 5%. These things tells me that we are on the brink, on that very brink where panic really can set in. So whatever you do, be sure to not be all in. I told you this before. This is the kind of market where you have to be restrained, you have to be patient. Yes, if you're lucky, markets will just react and it will be a super week. But what if it's not going to be a super week? This is not an uptrend, this is a downtrend. We are still fighting the huge downtrend. And here is where you really can lose your money. Before getting to that final conclusion, let's have a quick look at the chart. And for those who are listening to this podcast on Spotify or wherever you are, I will try to tell what we see. So Nasdaq is within a falling trend. That's been in a falling trend for more than 8 months. We are now talking a situation like 2008. And given a little bit more fall, we are actually back to 29, and I'm speaking about 1929. So we are for sure in bad times. I think Nasdaq is down some 30, 34, 35% from the top, but this can get much worse. Nasdaq, looking at the chart, has been falling. There is a major sell signals from the relation between the two moving averages, also called a dead cross, and there is a sell signal from both of them, both the short and the long, and as I said, the relation between these two. The index is getting oversold on the relative strength index. Usually this is a buying opportunity. Going back to September 6th, we can see in the chart that Nasdaq was oversold around 10,800, bounced up to 12,200. So I had that classic reaction up. We are now at the same point where Nasdaq is oversold, actually very oversold, down at 17 on the relative 14-day strength index. Usually it is an opportunity, but the curve is very steep. And here comes the thing about relative strength index, because I love trading on relative strength index. Buying the bouncers, I even recommended it last week and I will recommend it this week as well. Try to use relative strength index because here you can pick up a lot of bouncers. Risiko is a little bit less, especially if they have good support below. Go for those with low relative strength index and good support below. Usually will give a good risk reward for a bouncing opportunity. But when things are very low on the relative strength index, the same thing can happen, which happens when it's very overbought. You can get an extreme reaction up in overbought, but you can also get an extreme reaction down when oversold. So we are, as I said, where the point where things can go very bad very fast. I already told you I think there is a huge chance that Putin might use a small tactical nuclear weapon. The reasoning for this is simply he's pushed back home, he's pushed in Ukraine, he is getting out of options. There is no one offering peace talks, so he is in a situation where he has to show some sort of progress. And given that cornered position, the chances for using a small nuclear deterrent, trying to send a major signal, is very likely. It's very high. I was sadly wrong about the Ukraine conflict. I was correct about the Ukraine conflict coming up many years ago when I told you this, and also the inflation and these other things. I really hope I'm wrong on this one. I think we deserve to be, that me being wrong on this one, that it will be a quiet week, quiet month, and things finally can turn out in more peaceful ways. But it is what it is, and we have to try to be realistic. We have to try to position ourselves, because it is a high risk. So the conclusion for this week is the same like last week. It can be an insane good week or a very bad week. My guess for the week ahead of us is that it will be very bad, and I hope I'm wrong. But I think it can be a very bad week. And all I can say is try to be restrained. Try to be smart about your trading. Make sure to have some support below where you are. There are some things doing very good. I told you oil is on an upturn again, and Chevron did good last week, as we will see in the trading tips. So you can reduce your losses. You don't have to go into the most risky stocks yet, because if things turn out, let's say that things turn out, we are going for an upturn. Well, you will have good time to get into good positions for the future growth, because there will be a future growth. It's just a question of what. So the conclusion for this week is, I think, sadly, we're heading for a red week. I am prepared for a very, very bad red week. Depending what reason may be for the bad week, I will try to do some pickup trades. Because when the market gets frantic and you get these 3, 4, 5% falls, you can have a good buying opportunity, even just for half an hour. Just try to get in on the very low and be very, very, very strict, and go out just even with a little profit. Be happy with what you can get. So I'm sorry I couldn't give you a better forecast for the week. But that's what I think. If we head for an upturn, there will be plenty of resistance from 11,000 all the way up to 16,000. So whatever journey should be slow. There is nothing in the chart saying that this will be any sort of easy. We are heading for the trading tips, where I will tell you that Chevron went up, Fast now went down, and Zomerica still is in the portfolio. But that's coming up, the trading tips. I have to admit, I feel a little bit bad about last section, but it is, that's how I see the week ahead of us. But let's try to change mindset. Let's focus a little bit about the trading opportunities for the week. Because despite me telling you that I will not give you any tickers, I will still give you some trading tips, and there are things that can be done. I will even most likely trade myself, but I will not do as I do in this podcast series, buy on the Monday, because I will just have to look at the week ahead of us. Let's say that I'm totally wrong, everything starts to turn out very green, then I will start pick up some stocks to enjoy that upturn. But I want to see that confirmation before going in, because as I said, I think the chance for a huge fall is bigger than an upturn. And if we get into huge fall, I will, as I said, use the situation to pick up some stocks in and out very quickly. Last week we had 3 open trades: Zomerica, Fast now, and Chevron. Zomerica was open in week 34 as a lottery ticket. As I told you, we have done Zomerica trades many times at very good profits. And as I told you, this is a wild card. You should only use a very small portion because it runs very fast up and down. And I think huge money can be made. We just need that right market sentiment for the movement. Bought at 26 cents. Currently at 21 cents, it's down 20%. And for sure, one, if not the biggest loss so far in the portfolio. But it's not sold. And let's say that this week turned green. Well, you can be sure, rest assured that Zomerica will climb pretty fast. Is it a buy candidate? Like I told you last time, I think Zomerica at these levels is a real good opportunity. There are some issues, of course. They've been trading long under $1. Sooner or later they might have to do a split to apply the Nasdaq rules to get back above $1, which of course we want to see America go back up in natural ways above $1. America still stays open and in good faith. You never know, but if you check out the company, they still have plenty of cash, so they are trading, if I'm not wrong, below their cash value. What about FAST ZOM, F-A-S-T, which was one of the trading tips last week? Well, I bought it on Monday on $47.3. It went up to 48, then a little bit up and down, ending week at 46.04. It's still in the portfolio, but down 2.68% as we speak. FAST ZOM works with screws, and there was in a general good trend, good support below, and that was the reasoning why I wanted it to have a low risk stock, which I thought could handle a bearish week last week somewhat good. And it remains open, as I said, and I can repeat it many times. I might be wrong. It might be a very good week, and if it will be a very good week, FAST ZOM will not be the one stock that really does good. For this, it's simply too slow. It should just do market or maybe just a little bit above market. But it's open. It stays open, and if it falls further, it will be closed by stop loss. So Chevron, as I told you, I am a strong believer in oil. I think oil will push much higher. And oil pushed a little last week, as I told you. It's currently at 83, up $5 from last week. Chevron bought 141.25 last Monday, currently trading at 143.67, up 1.71% since it bought. Still stays in the portfolio and is one of these stocks which I think will do good week. And for the trading tips, because I told you I will not give you any tickers, but still you can do some trades. So here is what you should look for. Look for oversold stocks on the relative strength index with good support below. If we get a bounce up, you can check the pre-trades, you can check the futures for Nasdaq, all of these things. If everything indicates it will be a good green day, you can pick them up. And the tendency that we've seen lately is often a very green start, can end red by the end of the day. So don't be too sure about it. Maybe go in for shorter horizons, but using relative strength index in this market is a very, very good tool. And if you don't know where to find it, well, you'll find it at StockInvest. You'll find it on many other pages. At StockInvest, you just go to list and select either relative strength index 14 or 21. 14 is a little sharper than 21. I recommend 21 because it's a little bit more solid. It will take those stocks who has been falling a bit longer and give you a much better view, in my opinion. So 21, I prefer relative strength index 21 before 14. If you wonder what is relative strength index, you can go to blog.stockinvest.us, and there should be some articles written for you. And even at our YouTube channel, you will find some FAQ videos giving you a little insights in these technical indicators and what they mean. So pick up on the relative strength index. The other thing is that in this podcast, I never mention shorting. The reason for this is because it's so easy to lose money shorting, and there is a few things I really recommend you not to do. Using gearing in a market like this, using margins, can cause extreme pain. Because what if I am correct? What if Putin used a small nuclear tactical weapon for some military base in Ukraine during this week? Market can fall 5%, 7%. They may even close the exchange. Probably usually they do this around 5%. And your loss in a margin call can be extreme. So playing that hardball game is not for everyone in this market. You really have to know what you do. And usually when you do shorting, there are some of these things that put you in a position where you lend the stocks. And if things then suddenly go up the other way, for some reason Putin dies this week, or they come to some sort of peace agreement or whatever, some very, very positive news, which we need, market can bounce up extremely hard and you can be really in the red hole. So me not mentioning shorting is simply because the average user of our page, average user of this, listener of this podcast, do not have the skill sets. We have to admit that most of us are what we can call newbies, and it's a real hard game when you're playing with margins. Sadly, most do, because these brokers, they are really pushed up everywhere, promising zeros, trading fees and all kind of stuff. Easy trading, just go in with 1,000 and they will borrow you 10,000, but that, as I said, can have a huge negative side. But shorting is an option, just so you know it. You just have to know what to do. If you flip this to the other hand, what kind of stocks should I buy? As I told you, I prefer oil in this market. I think oil holds good, and especially if market falls very hard, oil tend to fall less simply because of very good oil price, etc. And if you for some reason are able to trade Norwegian stocks, salmon industry took a huge hit in Norway last week because of new tax rules. These big dividend players like SalMar, like Movi, and I know Movi very well because I worked more than 10 years in Movi. They are now undervalued and should give a good pick opportunity. So if you are a Norwegian listener, and I know there is a few of you, I think Norwegian salmon stocks are at a very nice place right now. So they might fall a little bit more and you can maybe get in later, but these are high dividend paying stocks. And there is no reason why the income side should go down. The production is still good, there is no big production things. Here we are simply talking financial things, and there will, I'm not sure that everything will be as outlined as now, and with some 30% discount, that should be a good opportunity. So there are things to go into. Cruise lines, so many of these happens to be Norwegian as well. We are good in shipping and oil and salmon industry. So, sorry to say, if you're a new listener, I am Norwegian by trade, living in Vilnius. So, cruise line is really hammered a lot. Maybe there might be a peak opportunity in these Royal Caribbean cruise line, Norwegian cruise line, etc. And some of them are even in discussions with, I think it's New York, about housing immigrants, which can give them some very solid contracts. So they might be worth to have a quick look at. Other than that, just be patient. Hold your horses. We are coming very, very soon. We might be there now for a trading opportunity, maybe for your life. A good trading opportunity. I will end with a more positive note. Let's say that you invest now and you reckon that you have done a little bit wrong. You see your stocks fall more. You are hesitant to sell. Well, now most stocks are much cheaper than they was just a year ago. So if you still believe like electric vehicle will be the future, well, don't worry too much about it if that is your strong belief. It's of course sad to see stocks fall and have to be patient and wait until things get up again. And no one can say for sure exactly where the bottom is. The bottom could have been in March, it could have been in April, it could have been in June. There were several opportunities for the bottom to be found. It's still not found, it's still not established. And the first way to see a bottom established is usually that the very low has a new low above. And you can use methods like pivot points. You can see this in charts at our webpage StockInvest.us. You will see some circles representing significant bottoms. You want to see these bottoms higher. The previous bottom higher, the new bottom higher than the previous bottom, and hopefully that new top higher than the previous top. So that's the first indication that you're going up. And another thing, these, let's call it super bearish markets, are often ended by huge falls. So if we get into huge falls now, it might be a signal that we finally are at the bottom. Leaving you with a bad taste in the mouth, saying that I think it might be a red week. Let's hope for the best. Let's hope it will be a good week. We are in October, and October is a nice month anyway outside. So, as usual, I recommend you to spend some time with friends, with family. Enjoy life. There is more to life than trading. I will be back next Monday. And until then, I wish you a very good week. Bye.